If you look at the district stakeholder survey, which results were shared with the community, I believe this past fall, it was an area of agreement that the top priority when the survey showed from administrators, teachers, and parents was to ensure that we were recruiting and retaining top teachers. And it makes sense because all the research indicates that of the school-controlled factors, having outstanding teachers is the #1 factor to drive student success. So on my list of critical is to make sure that the board has a full understanding of how we're doing. And the way I would approach it is to make sure that on a regular basis, probably annually, that we are looking at the teachers that are staying in the district, those that are leaving the district, and those that we are dismissing. And then we cross-reference that by their evaluations. You know, are they exceeding expectations? Are they meeting? Are they not meeting expectations? So we can see in the numbers, how are we doing? Are we keeping the best teachers? Or are those the ones that are choosing to leave? And the board may be doing some of that now. I don't recall seeing that in board materials, but it certainly is possible that they've gotten some of that. So I think at the highest level, the board needs to monitor what sort of activity is going on there. And then where we see there might be challenges, we have to address those. So if we see that we're not retaining the number of teachers and the teachers that we want to, we have to dig and understand why not and address those issues, whether it's professional development or the school environment or school leadership. There could be all sorts of issues. We would need to understand those so we could address those. And the same thing with dismissing teachers. I think it's a very, very small amount of teachers that are just really not perhaps meeting expectations, and we need to make sure that we're addressing those issues too.
On January 5th, candidates and incumbents got to meet with Superintendent Hardy, and he had told me that 72% of the teachers in the district get excellent ratings. About 26% get the average rating, and there's that small percentages that don't. The concern that I have, and when I asked him directly, I said, well, can you name the top 50 teachers in the school? Can you bring that out? And the answer was no. Not that he wouldn't do it. Their metrics aren't geared that way. So it's pretty tough under this, how we evaluate teachers if we're having a 72% excellent rate to really get an idea how well our teachers are doing. And Bill Gates, as you know, has gotten into the education, and he believes that if there's a 5% turnover rate in teachers, that would improve the quality and the morale of the teachers' union. We don't do that here in the district. When I asked Superintendent how many tenured teachers were let go, his answers were a few. And again, not that he was trying to be evasive, he just didn't have that number, but it was, I believe, under 5. And if we're unable to move teachers out of, bad teachers, poor performing teachers out of the classroom, we're not going to meet standards that we have, and we're handcuffed on that. As far as hiring new teachers, there's a program called Teach for America. It's, again, under the KIPP program. It's a group that take Ivy League trained teachers, or actually the University of Michigan has the most, I heard. Top kids, it's very competitive. They put them in classrooms. I think we could use those in some of the areas where the kids need it the most here in this district.
I agree with Mr. Reese on some things. I agree that we need to streamline the process for helping lower performing teachers make a graceful exit. And I do believe we can recruit better. I think if we have, we know we want strong minority candidates. I think there are forums where we can recruit for specific needs. If we need stronger math teachers, I know there are forums where we can recruit specific, for that specific need. I know we get a lot of resumes. I know that the district is flooded with resumes because we're a decent paying district, but that's not necessarily the best pool of candidates. I am intrigued by the idea of Teach for America also, but I know that for one, they're not trained teachers, so it's a more complicated program that you train them while they're in your schools, and they don't necessarily, there is some question of whether they stay in teaching at the same rate as other candidates. So I think they are a good tool, but it's not necessarily a panacea. I think that we need to make part of the superintendent's performance evaluation, like I said earlier, upward feedback. I think teacher and principal job satisfaction is very important. I think employee morale is very important to employee success. I think teachers who love their jobs and are passionate about their jobs and don't feel stifled by a leadership style that isn't necessarily the ideal leadership style for educated, motivated professionals, I think that they will do the best job with our kids. So I think we need to put that measure into our superintendent's performance evaluation, something that gets at the satisfaction of these teachers that we're hopefully going to work really hard to recruit, and the great ones that we already have.
I spoke last time and said I think teacher and principal hiring is critical to the success of our district. And so you really do want to hire those that are going to be the best and be successful. And I do understand how we do it, and it's a mixture of both principal and human resources working together. The question is, too, when you want to hire the best, and teachers that are going to be successful, you want to understand what that means for our district and being successful in our district. And I think that we do a good job, and I think we could do a better job. And I think it's important that the board talk about it and work with the superintendent on it. I think measuring is really important, and it's critical right now during those first 3 to 4 years when teachers are new. Because after they do have tenure, it does impact your ability to make change. It's not impossible, it's just harder. During those first 3 years, the evaluation system is critical. And I think the new evaluation system that we have in place is good, that merges both the Danielson model as well as data-driven analysis. And I think that evaluation system is critical as teachers are tenured, because they're still evaluated. And if 73% are being evaluated as excellent, we need to make sure that they are really excellent. And I think this evaluation system is going to allow us to do that. And finally, I think in terms of one of the things, and we've all talked about Teach for America, we won't get Teach for America teachers to come here necessarily, but we could get their alums. I think about 50% of the Teach for America alums stay in teaching. And I do think that would be a great source for teachers. There's a number of great sources, and I think the board needs to talk about that with the superintendent. But we also need to look at principal hiring too. Good principals make great schools.
Okay, thank you. My time's up. I don't think I'm going to respond.
We're getting all of this.
You know, let me start by saying we have some absolutely fantastic teachers in this school system. I mean, you know, teachers get beat up a lot for a lot of things, and so, you know, I'm a proponent of that. But what have we actually done to make them even better? Well, you know, we laid out maybe a year, 2 years ago, a professional development program, because we recognize that we have some real issues in this community, such as diversity, such as a very wide socioeconomic spectrum, such as children coming to school who aren't ready or really good readers. So there's so many inequities, and I can just tell you that one of the goals of the new teacher evaluation system is this. Before it was used, 90% of our teachers were considered excellent. Now that we have it in place, it's the 73% that's considered excellent. So now the board has done and put some strategic things in place to really get at who's good and who's not. And it's based on whether a child moves. Now, to the point of, you know, getting rid of teachers, it's really difficult. You guys go to the website, look at the teacher contract, everything's in there, how we can look at them, what we need to do. It really stipulates everything. You know, being at the negotiating table, it's one of the big issues that this board paid attention to. We did not ignore that, which is why we have the new teacher evaluation system in place. To the last point I want to make, because I have 30 seconds, How do we hire new teachers? Well, we have some initiatives. Let's hire some minority teachers. And we've made some significant progress over the last 4 years. It's up to like 15, 16%. Now, consider that fact when you consider how the cohorts of children in this city are performing. Let's take the white children in Evanston are performing better than Wilmette, Winnetka, even with our diversity. Again, we should be applauding what we do. We do some fantastic things in this city. I'll say it again. If you look at the cohorts of children in this city, they are performing better than our northern neighbors. Sorry.